Hello friends, so today we'll learn how to create RDD on different type of data. So if you are trying to create RDD in your IDE like Eclipse and IntelliJ, then you need to create the Spark context. So for creating a Spark context, first you need to create the configuration object. So this is the syntax of creating the configuration object. So in this you need to pass your application name and master name. These are mandatory things. For application name, you can define your own application, and master is either local, yarn client, and yarn cluster. Now, pass this configuration to Spark context. You will get the Spark context object. Now, this Spark context is used to create the RDD. So, in this example, I'm creating an RDD over a data structure. That is an array. So, I have an array, and I can use parallelize function to create the RDD over this array. Now, what this parallelize does is distribute this data into multiple partition, and you can define the number of partition as a second argument to this parallelize function. Now, in this line I'm creating an RDD over a text file. So this is a local file. So this text file contains multiple lines. So here I'm using this RDD for calculating the length of all the lines. I want to sum of length of all the lines. So for doing this, what I'm doing, I'm using a map function, and the input for map function. So this as is represent a line. So input for this map is a line and output is a line dot length. So I'm doing this kind of thing for all the lines. Here I'm reduce using the reduce function. So reduce first function takes two argument of similar data type. What I'm doing, so a is representing a line length for line 1, b is representing the length of line 2, then I'm doing the addition. So a plus b, let's say the length of line 1 is 10 and length of line 2 is 10, then overall a plus e will be 20. Now in the next iteration, this a will represent the 20 previous aggregation, and this b is represent the new line length, then this will be a 30. So so overall finally will I will get the length of all the lines. Now you can create an RDD over a directory itself. So this is the syntax of directory. Now this RDD will be created on a directory of multiple files, and each file will be part of different partition. You can also use a wildcard way of creating an RDD. So let's say if your directory has a different kind of files and you want that only .txt file, text file will be part of my RDD, then you can use this syntax. If you want that only .gz files should be part of my RDD, then you can use this syntax. Now, there is another way of creating a RDD over text file. Let's say if you directly have small files, let's say you have 1,000 files, and each files has a single record. So if you create an RDD with the help of text file, then it will create the 1,000 partition, but your single partition has a single records. So it's not a good idea to consume the resources for 1,000 partitions or 1,000 tasks, because 1,000 tasks will be required to process the 1,000 partition. So to overcome this problem, you can use the whole text file. So whole text file function create few optimized partition over smaller files, and the output written by the whole text file, you can say the RDD written by the whole text file will look like that. It will be a key value pair. Now in the key in an RDD will be a file name, and value will be the file contained. Now we have another way of creating an RDD, that is called the new API Hadoop RDD. So Spark has support of almost all the input formats that are given by the Hadoop. You can create an ID or text file, secure Spark a file, Abro file, and all. But sometimes it happens that user want to define his custom logic into an input format. So you cannot directly create an RDD with the help of text file and whole text file over it. So for that, you need to define your own custom logic. So you need to define your custom input format, and if you want to create an RDD or custom input format, then you need to use the new API Hadoop RDD. So here you can use your configuration object. So with this configuration object, you can pass your external word configuration to this RDD. Here you can pass the file information. You can pass directory path and all. Now this is the class name of your input format. Let's say if I'm defining my input format, so my input format dot class will come here. Now this is the input to the my input format. If you know that if you work on the input format, so input format has a key value pair, so key will be a long writable. Most of the time key is the long writable and value is these text. So this represent in my case, let's say this is a long writable and the output is the my record dot class. So you can create this kind of RDD over the custom input format. Okay. Now here also I am doing the similar thing. I am creating a text file. I'm reading the text file for creating an RDD. Now I'm calculating the length. Here I'm calculating the sum of all the lengths. Let's say if I want to calculate the average as well. Yeah, I want to get the maximum length. Suppose I want to get the line, yeah, maximum length. So I need to define a different formula here. So let's say I want two things. I want the sum of the length of all the lines, and I want to get the maximum length. Now, what is the line which has the maximum length? So in that case, I need not to do this line of code and again means I am doing sum of all the lengths. If I want average as well, if I want the maximum length as well, then I will do this thing only once. I will reuse this variable. So for doing that, you need to use the persist. If you persist this line length, or if you call the line length or persist, then this calculation will happen only once. And you can use your persistent data in your program anywhere. So persist is used, yeah, I can say cache is used to avoid the RDD creation, RDD recreation. If you want that, because when you create an RDD, so it does it does most of the thing, like it will create an RDD, it will repartition, it will calculate the partition, it distribute the data. Sometimes you need to shuffle the data as well. So if you want to avoid this thing and if you want to optimize your program, so you can create an RDD and use persist for reusing it. So if I call the persist, then this line will not execute again in your program. So this helps in optimizing your performance. So in my next video, I will cover how to pass the function to an Spark program. Thanks for watching.